For 15 years, I've been running. For 15 years, the same image has burned behind my eyes. The night I left the woman I was going to marry alone in the woods, abandoning her to the things that lived there. People know me as Peter Brooks, and after 15 years of silence, I am finally ready to tell the chilling story of what truly happened on that cursed night of August 15, 1997. It was supposed to be one of the best days of my life, a day I would remember forever. I was going to ask the love of my life, Karen, to marry me. But what happened on that day is a horrifying secret that will haunt my soul for as long as I am breathing. Karen and I had been dating for 3 years, since we were both 23. We knew after just a few months that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. The only thing missing was that I hadn't formally asked her yet. Even though she'd been pushing and prodding me for quite some time, she didn't know the reason I was holding back. For the last year, I had been saving every penny to buy her the ring of her dreams. She'd always loved jewelry, especially pink diamonds and dolphins. So, I had ordered a custom-made ring with dolphins and the biggest pink diamond I could afford on my apprentice's salary. Pink diamonds are the most expensive in the world, so I had worked day and night, scrimping and saving to buy her the absolute best. Finally, after a year of hard work, I was able to order her ring from our local jeweler. I had never felt such a sense of accomplishment in my life. I was sure she would be ecstatic. Several weeks later, the ring was ready, and I decided I wanted to do something special when I popped the question. We both loved camping in the summer, and since it was August and the weather was perfect, I planned a weekend getaway. One of our favorite areas was deep in the heart of the Eagle Cap National Forest. The area was famous for being out in the middle of nowhere, which is just how we liked it. We loved being alone with just us and nature. We'd camped in Eagle Cap many times before, but we always liked to try new areas. When Friday afternoon finally came, we loaded up our camping gear and set off for a perfect weekend retreat. She had no idea a special surprise awaited her. As we were driving along the paved mountain road that led into Eagle Cap, I leaned over and asked her which area she'd like to camp in this time. She thought for a moment and then said, "You remember that fork in the road when we head to Ice Lake? I say we take the left fork this time and see where it takes us." "Sure thing," I replied. "I bet there are some cool spots to camp there." But as soon as she said that, a strange, bad feeling washed over me. A thought flickered in my mind. What in the hell is this feeling? After a minute, I just blew it off and kept driving. I figured I was just nervous about proposing. We drove for several more hours until the left fork for Ice Lake came into view. I angled the steering wheel to the left, and as I did, a little voice inside my head screamed, "No, don't go this way, turn around." This time, a chill shot up my spine, and my whole body shook like I was freezing. Karen looked over at me and asked, "Are you okay, honey?" With a slight chuckle, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," not sure why I shivered. Once we hit the road on the left fork, it instantly turned into a bumpy, dirt road. I could tell not many people used it. Karen looked over at me and said with a laugh, "Wow, maybe I shouldn't have picked this place. This road is horrible." I didn't say anything, just tried to laugh a little. I didn't want to tell her about the bad feeling I'd gotten because I wanted this weekend to be perfect. We continued driving for another hour before the road came to a dead end. I stopped the car and said, "Well, that's it. That's as far as we can go." She looked at me and smiled. "This is great. I'm just glad we don't have to drive anymore." As I shut off the car, I noticed just how dark it really was. The forest was super thick, and there wasn't going to be a moon. It meant pitch black darkness. It was often like this when we went camping, but for some reason, tonight felt eerie, like something was deeply wrong. I pushed the thoughts away, grabbed my flashlight, and said, "Let's set up camp and cook dinner, I'm starved." As I stepped outside, I noticed it was cold, much colder than I expected for August. I stopped for a second and could hear the sound of a roaring river nearby. That had to be one reason for the chill. We quickly set up our tent and then started gathering firewood. The wood was everywhere, as if no one had ever camped here before. At first, I thought, "Wow, this is nice," but a few minutes later, an eerie feeling came over me that maybe there was a reason no one camped here. Maybe it was just the nasty road, I told myself to calm my nerves, but it didn't help much. Once we gathered enough wood, we built a roaring fire which gave us a sense of security. As I was walking back to the car, which was about 40 yards away, I heard a clicking noise coming from the nearby trees. It was a wet clicking sound. Click, click, click. It suddenly stopped, and I could hear something moving swiftly through the trees. I froze in place from fear and thought, what in the holy hell is that? I looked back at Karen by the fire. Her back was turned, and I could tell she hadn't heard it. I stood there for several minutes, frozen solid, before Karen called out, "Are you okay? What's taking so long?" "Nothing. Just trying to find everything," I replied, again not wanting to alarm her. I grabbed the food and walked back to her side. As I cooked the steaks over the fire, the eeriness and sounds I'd heard earlier escaped my mind, and I was relaxed for the first time. After dinner, Karen grabbed a bottle of wine. We said, "Cheers," and as our glasses clinked, it hit me. The whole reason I planned this weekend was to propose to her. The ring was in my pocket the whole time. Suddenly, the fear and excitement of proposing hit me like a brick, and I started panicking. "What's wrong?" she asked. "You've been acting squirrely ever since we arrived." I looked up and said, "Oh, it's nothing. This place just kind of gives me the creeps." I told myself maybe it would be better to propose tomorrow. We drank for another hour until I felt my head bobbing, and I knew it was time for bed. I helped a very tipsy Karen over to the tent. Once inside, I zipped it up, and as my head hit the pillow, I was out like a light. I remember having the strangest of dreams, dreams I could never explain. I woke up the next morning to the sun hitting the tent. My head was pounding. Karen was still asleep next to me. After breakfast, we spent the day exploring the area. But as the day progressed, Karen's attitude slowly started to change. She became more and more distant and cold. I spent the day trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, but I couldn't think of anything. As evening settled in, she was almost completely silent. As we were sitting by the fire, she suddenly got up without a word and walked straight to the tent, unzipped it, and went inside. I thought, what in the hell is going on with her? I sat there for a few more minutes, then decided I might as well go to bed too. I peered inside and could see she was already in her sleeping bag, facing away from me. I didn't say a word, just got into my own bag and quickly fell asleep. I'm not sure how long I'd been asleep, but I was awoken by the sound of click, click, click. I immediately sat up in a panic. I looked over at Karen, and to my surprise, she wasn't there. Only her empty, half-open sleeping bag. I then looked over at the tent door, and it was still zipped up. How in the hell did she unzip the tent and then zip it up without me hearing it? I've always been a light sleeper, and I hadn't drunk any alcohol. As I was thinking, I heard the clicking sound again, only this time it had a loud, wet sound to it. Click, click, click. This time, my heart started to race. I thought about calling out to her, but I was too scared. Maybe she was just going to the bathroom. But why would she zip the tent back up? After what felt like an eternity, I decided to lay back down and wait. I must have dozed off because I was awoken to the hideous sound of my name being screamed over and over again. "Peter, Peter, Peter," I shouted out. "Karen, is that you? You need to get out of here now. They're watching you. They're coming for you. Get out of here now," she screamed. Without thinking, I jumped up, unzipped the tent, and ran straight for the car. As I was running, I could faintly see Karen in the trees, but it was hard to make her out. I could also hear things moving swiftly through the trees and again, the wet clicking sound. It grew louder and louder as the things in the trees got closer. A few feet from the car, I remembered the keys were on the dashboard. I didn't hesitate as I jumped into the front seat. I fumbled to hit the automatic lock, missing the button again and again. A shot of pure fear went up my spine, and after several attempts, I finally found it. As all the locks clicked, I breathed a sigh of relief. As I turned to see where Karen was, something hit the side of the car with a loud thud, moving the rear end several feet. I shouted out in panic, "What the hell was that?" It was then I saw Karen, clearly in the moonlight, calmly walking over to the car. She was naked and covered in blood. I looked at her, and as she got closer, I yelled as loud as I could, "Karen, what is going on? Why the hell are you covered in blood?" She just stood there looking at me without a word. Her eyes looked lifeless, like a doll's eyes. "You brought me back to my home," she said, "and they came for me. I can never leave. You must leave now and never return, or they'll kill you." "What will kill me? What are you talking about?" I screamed as tears started rolling down my cheeks. Right then, several dark figures stood up not too far behind Karen, looking straight at me. They were huge, at least 7 or 8 feet tall. "Peter, leave now, I beg you," she screamed. I heard her, grabbed the keys off the dash, and started the car. I jammed it into drive as fast as I could and put the pedal to the metal. As I drove away, leaving a cloud of dust behind, I could see Karen in my rearview mirror, watching me as I left. There were at least a dozen dark figures half surrounding her. I raced down the mountain as fast as the car could go. What had just happened didn't seem real. As I drove, I kept trying to process it all, but I just couldn't. I knew I couldn't tell anyone. I would get blamed for her disappearance. As my home came into sight, I made a split-second decision. I knew deep down I had to run and stay on the run. I turned the car around and sped off, and I've been running ever since. What happened up there in Eagle Cap that night haunts me every single day of my life, and I don't venture into the mountains anymore. Maybe someday I'll go back. Maybe, but not just yet. What do you think really happened to Karen that night? Did she become a victim of those mysterious figures, or did she go back to become one of them? Share your darkest theories in the comments below. And if you want to hear more terrifying stories that will keep you up at night, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next one.